She ruled over a golden age, but was Queen Elizabeth I all that she appeared to be? Not according to one famous horror author. You can say what you want about the monarchy, but this nearly inarguable fact remains. The kingdom reached new heights of peace and prosperity when there was a woman on the throne. Among other things, Queen Elizabeth I's reign saw a period of relative peace after years of violent religious conflict, a flourishing of the arts, including the career of William Shakespeare, and the historic defeat of the Spanish Armada. Elizabeth I even developed her own little cult of personality, was celebrated as the Virgin Queen due to her refusal to marry, and has since had an entire era named after her. What is it about having a woman on the throne that creates peace and prosperity in England? Well, in the case of Elizabeth I, at least, it may have been that she wasn't a woman at all. We mean, she probably was, but at least one moderately famous person was pretty convinced she wasn't. Just hear us out for a minute. This theory was first recorded by Bram Stoker, the guy who wrote Dracula, along with a dozen or so other books you've likely never heard of. In his nonfiction work Famous Impostors, Stoker suggested that Queen Elizabeth, back when she was about 10 and just a princess, was sent to Bisley, Gloucestershire in order to escape the plague. Unfortunately, according to Stoker that is, she got sick and died, right as her father, King Henry VIII, was coming to visit her. Panicked and terrified of Henry's wrath, Elizabeth's governess searched far and wide for a girl to stand in for her. Unfortunately, the best she could do was a boy. Henry shrugged, said, "Close enough," and just went with it.
Your Majesty, this is...
My daughter Elizabeth. You don't need to tell me.
According to Stoker, this explains all sorts of weird things about Queen Elizabeth's reign, including why she never married and why she would only let her personal doctors examine her. And when she died, Elizabeth I famously forbade any autopsy of her body. Then there was a time that, in a speech to English troops, she made an interesting statement.
But I have the heart and stomach of the king!
But Bram Stoker was pretty sure that this was not a metaphor. The final piece of evidence for Stoker? In Bisley, there was a May Day tradition of dressing a local boy up in Tudor-era drag, which could only mean one thing, that the future Queen Elizabeth died there and was replaced by a boy. It absolutely, definitely could not possibly mean anything else.
May I call you the Virgin Queen?
To the boys out there, yes, I am totally intact, but experienced.
It probably goes without saying that much of the appeal of this rumor is just good old-fashioned sexism. A woman couldn't possibly be interested in ruling an entire country, let alone be any good at it. Outside of that, and a bit of playing connect the dots with random data points, there's really nothing to this theory. In the first place, there's no evidence that Elizabeth I was ever sent to Bisley. And despite maybe remaining a virgin, Elizabeth I did have several romantic partners, at least a couple of whom presumably got close enough to notice things like an Adam's apple or a 5 o'clock shadow. One of these suitors, King Philip II of Spain, actually went so far as to ask Elizabeth's laundress if she menstruated normally to make sure she was fertile before proposing marriage. According to historian Claire Ridgway, the laundress confirmed that Aunt Flo did indeed visit regularly. What a shock that the Queen turned that guy down.
No way, Jose. Away with you.
So even the circumstantial evidence doesn't really hold up. Where then did such a wild idea come from? According to the BBC, the whole thing started as a rumor spread by a Bisley area priest as a joke. In the 19th century, a hidden grave holding the skeleton of a child in Tudor-era clothing was discovered, and Thomas Keble, the local rector, thought, wouldn't it be wild if this were Queen Elizabeth? Things just sort of spiraled out of control from there, until a guy who wrote vampire stories for a living decided he was an expert in history.